a rich man's world. I have turned the song of this
You're listening to the Breakdown Podcast, presented by Flea Flicker Highlights.
a rich man's world. I have turned the song of this beautiful land, but
Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the Breakdown Podcast presented by Flea Flicker Highlights. I'm your host, Wade Rainey, joined as usual by my co-hosts, Pal Patel and Tyler Boush. And we have our second ever guest today, Dan Boush.
Yes.
Spelled differently, no relation to Tyler, but he's in to talk some college football primarily. We'll get to that later. But
I dabble in everything.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, jack of all trades over here. And we're in a celebratory mood today with on the Breakdown Podcast because the United States of America is moving on in the World Cup. 1-0 victory over Iran today, a nerve-wracking game. But hey, survive and advance.
Yeah.
The U.S., all three games, I think there were aspects that fans should be really, really excited about going forward, and this game was no different. The U.S., clearly the better team. Would have liked to see a consolation goal just for my own personal heart health, but I thought they played well. I didn't have any complaints about the performance. I don't know if you guys have anything else to say about that.
Their offense was looked so much better than the couple games before. They had 12 shots or something, or 12 chances, 7 shots on goal from literally every side of the field.
Yeah, they did.
So they looked good. I mean, Pulisic scored and then got hurt, but he's gonna be back hopefully. So
yeah, he should be okay. One guy I want to highlight is Yunus Musa, the birthday boy. He's gonna be a guy who you see, I think, tagged for some big money moves soon. Currently plays for Valencia in the Spanish top tier. But man, what a player. Only 20 years old.
He turned 20 today.
Wait, he's 20?
Only
He's
20.
the same age as me, right?
He's 20. He's younger than me.
Right?
Yep.
Musa is younger than me.
Yeah, a lot of them
my.
are.
A lot of these guys are, man. Wait until he finds out about how old Jude Bellingham is.
He's
I knew
younger than I am.
I knew Dest was young and I knew Aronson was young. I did not know that Musa was 20.
We just fielded the youngest starting 11 ever in a World Cup for this World Cup.
Wow.
And we did it while
did
starting
not know
Tim
that.
Ream, who is 35.
35.
So
He's really, I mean, watching the game, I see a lot of times they'll cut to what was his name again?
Tim Ream.
Tim Ream.
Yeah. Thor.
He's clearly like an emotional leader on the team because he's been there before. He's done
100%.
this.
He is, like I said, he's the oldest guy on the team, and it's not even close.
Yeah,
and,
and he does look. He looks like Hayden Hurst.
Yeah. He does. he plays for Fulham and London Club.
Yeah, his hair is a little longer.
He looked like Hayden Hurst.
We haven't given up
funny.
the U.S. men's national team. We haven't given up an open play goal. The only goal that they've given up through the first 3 matches
Was
has been
the
that one
penalty kick with
penalty.
Bale.
Yep. So that's very impressive. I don't think there's another team that can say that right now in the World Cup. Also, our midfield. Those 3 guys. You shouted out Yunus Musa, the birthday boy already, but Tyler Adams. He's been wearing the armband for us. He's been exceptional. And then Weston McKennie playing through injury, coming back for his country, and it's been awesome watching them because they've been so inspiring. This run has been wonderful. I don't think we can complain too much.
Yeah, and the U.S., their reward for finishing second in Group B is a matchup with the Dutch on Saturday at 10 a.m.
Number 8 in a row.
That is going to be
The Netherlands, a very good team, definitely better, mostly top to bottom on paper than the U.S.
Yes.
But here's what I will say. I will say that it's a very winnable game.
Yes.
What the U.S. showed against England, that they have the quality to not only hang in against good teams, but also to play a little bit against them. And I think the 2 areas you're going to want to watch is the matchup of Cody Gakpo and Memphis Depay up front for the Netherlands against our 2 center backs, and then the midfield. The Netherlands play with 3 center backs, which means they only have 2 men in central midfield. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how their one world-class player, Frankie de Jong, and whoever Louis van Gaal pairs with him can handle McKennie, Musa, and Adams. But once again, very winnable game. Anything can happen at this point. And like Pal said, the U.S. hasn't conceded an open play goal. That's always something you want to have momentum-wise.
If we're gonna brag about our defense as a unit, we definitely have to talk about the Dutch. That's their strength of the team. They're going to be so hard to score on. And we're really going to need our attackers and our forward players to be able to create, because it's going to be a game where you're not going to get very many good looks. You're going to have some of the best defenders in the world with, Van Dijk, and with Jurriën Timber and Nathan Ake back there. It's going to be tough. Denzel Dumfries is going to be a pest on the wings. We're not going to be able to just flood Dest and Robinson like we did today against Iran, because the Netherlands are better.
I'm very proud of this young group of guys and what they've accomplished so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do on Saturday. I mean, I believe in them. This was a very gritty win, and a very impressive win with backs against the wall for, once again, such a young group.
Being a guest here, I feel like I just have to ask and at least gauge the question of who do you guys have as the front runners right now through however many days through we are in the World Cup? Like, who's looked like the best team out there?
I will say the team that has looked the best, I would probably say France.
That was the team I was thinking as well.
That's who I was gonna say.
However, I'm sticking with my original pick of Brazil as my winner.
I think France has looked the best, but I think Brazil still has the best top to bottom roster. And plus, I think France's wins. I mean, how Brazil looked against Switzerland, they just played Switzerland, right? That's okay.
Yep.
That was a very impressive showing against against a very good Switzerland.
Very good Switzerland team.
Yeah, no, France has one of the highest payrolls. I mean, in the World Cup right now. I saw a funny thing. So, coming into the tournament, Belgium was ranked 2, France 4. Belgium's paying their players, not playing their players, but their contracts are worth $500 million. Well, France is at $1 billion.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
2 spots ahead.
Yeah, their transfer.
That's like that Celtics stat I was floating around earlier.
There are 3 teams that go over $1 billion. It's England, Brazil, and France.
England, really?
England, Brazil. England actually has the highest in the whole world.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, there's a certain bias. There's a certain bias for English players.
Well, we know why that. It's because all of them play in the Premier League, which is the best league in the world, which means they get valued higher than all these other guys.
The Eurosnob had to say all that. Back to the World Cup. France and Brazil have definitely been the 2 best teams of the tournament so far. They were the first 2 to clinch their spot in the round of 16. I mean, Mbappe is about to make another case for player of the tournament. Yeah. Scored a brace to kind of lift them against Denmark. I think the 2 of them, and then you can't count out Argentina. I know that they had that blip against.
We'll see tomorrow.
Arabia, but they look back, and they have a very dangerous Messi playing with them.
And they also have a very dangerous matchup for them tomorrow, playing against the Poland team, who, as we talked about briefly before the podcast. Wait, what was it you said about the Polish attack and compared to all the other teams in the world with that?
Yeah. So a common theme with a lot of these teams you see in the World Cup is they lack a true recognized number 9 up front, because scoring goals is the hardest thing to do in the game. Yep. Poland has the opposite problem. They have a world-class striker in Robert Lewandowski, but they lack some of the creative service to get him the ball. He's not a guy who's going to be able to drop deep and dribble past 5 or 6 guys and make a play.
Especially now at his age.
Yeah. Like you do have players like Piotr Zielinski, linking the play from midfield, but that's an issue with Poland. They are very solid structurally, like a lot of these European teams are, which I think Argentina could have some trouble with. They had trouble against Saudi Arabia, who doesn't play exactly the same style, but still has a very rigid defensive structure. Argentina has not really impressed me, but with the quality of players that they have, they can make a run. And I will say for France, before we move on, Brazil is still my pick, but when you have the best player in the world, anything can happen for you. I mean, he's incredible, Kylian Mbappe. Yeah. But looking forward to the rest of the round of 16 being decided, and then the knockouts is where the magic really starts to happen.
The matchups are going to be so much fun to talk about. We just have to get through the match day 3 games. The ones that are good are really good, and then the ones that are bad, you don't even want to
you don't even talk.
A lot of meaningless matchups.
Yeah, so we gotta get through these next few days, and then it'll get really fun.
I will say, just as a not really big soccer fan, but I keep up and watch. With the World Cup expanding to 48 teams in 2026, I really hope Norway gets in.
Yeah.
I want to see my man Holland.
Holland, that would be so interesting to see him in the World Cup.
I'm excited for 2026. But let's hop from overseas football to some American football.
This is where we can really get into some stuff.
Let's talk some NFL. Let's real quick do let's talk about the Monday night game. Not a ton to talk about, kind of ho-hum in terms of both the matchup and the game itself. Yes. I think some notables. Kenny Pickett looked serviceable, which is good for a rookie. And then Jeff Saturday hates timeouts, I guess. He's like the anti-Chris Webber.
I want to call out the Colts offense for not using Jonathan Taylor. I don't know how long it took them in the first quarter to get him the ball. He scored a touchdown later in the game, and he ended up fumbling on the 1 yard line, which kind of cost him the game. But they need to get him involved more. He was almost the MVP candidate last year.
Yeah.
I know the offensive line is struggling right now, but Saturday he's here for the offensive line, and I don't see him using the run game as much as they should. They keep dropping back Matt Ryan and passing to who? Michael Pittman, who's double covered, and then you have Alec Pierce.
Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah, no, yeah. The offensive line is not built for pass protection for the Colts. I need to see change.
Yeah, I
need to see change.
As somebody who was super high on the Colts preseason, I'm not gonna say how high, just not to embarrass myself.
Don't worry, we were a big Raiders podcast. So.
Oh, dude, I was a Raiders guy too. Don't worry about it.
I will say, sorry, Dan.
Oh, dude, you're good.
Just to get this out here, T. Boush has been supporting
riding the Colts.
Yeah, he's been absolutely.
I don't blame you.
Absolutely riding the Colts for the past 3 weeks, bro. Well, it started with the Eagles, and I thought it was just a phase. It's all right, bro.
Yeah,
I called
he's shitting on me
after he called mine.
No, that's a great pick. It makes sense for the Colts because everything is there on paper. Outside of the receiving core, which is very underwhelming outside of Michael Pittman, you have a great running back, a solid enough offensive line. And
I think Matt Ryan is better than
people give, much better than Carson Wentz. And you see the teams that they've had the past few years, they made the playoffs with Phillip Rivers. They should have made the playoffs with Carson Wentz. Mm-hmm. And now with Matt Ryan, who at his time in Indy should be better than both Wentz and Rivers. And they're pretty much the same team. Yeah. Just add on Stephon Gilmore. And they're not good.
Agreed.
I think that with the Steelers team, we have to give them credit because their defense was good enough to make up for mistakes that the offense made.
Yeah.
And that is something that if you can kind of cover up for your rookie quarterback, it makes his job a lot easier. The Jets are a comparison that you can make because it shows you that how a management style and a certain team culture can really make a difference on the quarterback's development. And we see that with Kenny Pickett because even though he hasn't been as effective, he's been able to find his way through his first few weeks. He's able to establish a repertoire with George Pickens. We see him trusting him. There were some good throws that he made. He looks really comfortable leading that offense. He looked calm on the sidelines. Mm-hmm. I think the Steelers team has a lot of upside. If we don't see it this year, I think that it's definitely next year.
I don't necessarily say that I think this Steelers team is really going to make any waves this year because the AFC is pretty front heavy.
100%.
Especially in their division with both the Ravens and the Bengals. But literally everything you just said I completely agree with in terms of Pickett's development.
I think now we have an idea of the teams that are in the playoff contention in the AFC and aren't. So we can comfortably say that the Steelers are not. Yeah. And I think it's time to put the Colts in that category as well. They looked lifeless. Sure. They looked lifeless for a lot of that game, especially the first half. And then towards the end, they weren't able to put it together. That they had it was an 11-play, 12-play drive, and it ended. You said inside the 5-yard line.
Mm-hmm. Matt Ryan,
he just couldn't get the ball in his hands. They fumbled, but they got 2 more chances after that, and they weren't able to get anything going. And I think that you can blame it on the receivers, you can blame it on the line. You can blame it on Matt Ryan. I just think that really it does come down to the fact that you have a coach that doesn't know what he's doing. This is a strain on the coordinators that they haven't had before. Yeah. And I think that we have to remember that Frank Reich was an offense guy. He was very involved in this offense. And I think that it's going to take some adjusting to get used to what Jeff Saturday wants to do.
I want to give a little credit to Matt Canada just for in the run game. Even though I hate him this season because he's done a horrific job. But he used 6 different rushers or 6 different players with their rush attempts, and 4 of them had 6 or more.
Yep.
So that's kind of a weird stat. And
Yeah, that's an ESPN stat.
I'm looking at it right now. I wanted to say my player of the game for the Steelers at least was Benny Snell Jr. He was the running back that he led them on the ground. After Najee went out, he kind of picked up the load. He had 12 attempts, got 62 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah. I think the thing with Pittsburgh, too, is that the integration of Snell into the offense we need to be honest and say that Najee Harris, while he's an amazing player, great running back, great out of the backfield, he's not a power runner at all.
He's a workhorse, but not an efficient one.
Not an efficient one at all. And I think, especially for the longevity of his career, integrating Benny Snell into the offense more, allowing him to get 8 to 12 rush attempts a game, takes a little bit of the wear and tear off of Harris, allows 3rd and 2, throw in Benny Snell. He's bigger. I'm pretty sure he's bigger.
He's huge.
Yeah, he's huge. I don't know the numbers on it, but he's clearly larger than Harris.
He looks a lot bigger.
Yes.
At least.
Benny Snell is 5'10", 224.
He's bigger than Najee Harris. I don't care how big Najee Harris is. He's bigger.
He's averaging more yards per carry.
I want to say
Jalen Warren. He was
I was going to say
him
with
too.
Benny Snell, his rookie year, he had 400 yards. He was averaging close to 4 yards a carry
behind a power back.
And that's
he played behind James Conner.
And he wasn't. And that was also during the time when Ben Roethlisberger was taking 40 attempts a game.
Oh, Jesus.
The run game wasn't being developed, and he was still able to kind of thrive in that kind of situation. So I think that he's definitely a piece that the Steelers need to consider adding because we've seen the 2 running back system work. I feel like we're seeing more teams use it to where they have a traditional kind of smash mouth running back, and then they'll have someone that they can use coming out of the backfield and getting those the yak bros. We talk about the yak bros.
My favorite thing to talk about with running backs relates to team success. Look at the last few teams that have won the Super Bowl, and look at who the running backs have been. The Rams won with a injured Cam Akers and Darrell Henderson.
Yeah.
The Bucks won with did they even have Fournette? But he's not elite. He's nothing special.
That was his best year. That was his best year.
The Chiefs had Darrell Williams the last few teams that have won Super Bowls, and it goes beyond that, haven't really won with elite level running backs and in rooms with running backs by committee.
I think that Jacoby's just paying.
That's how the Eagles
other players.
I don't know how far back you can go, but just personally being an Eagles fan, that's how we won our Super Bowl.
Yep.
RPOs and the running back by committee.
Who was in the backfield?
Corey
Sanders.
Clement was the guy. Darren Sproles, Miles Sanders, man.
Corey Clement.
Corey Clement. That's a deep cut name.
He was
He
awesome.
caught the
Shout
He
out
got an
Corey
insane
Clement. I
touchdown.
started him in fantasy 2 years ago because I had an injury.
When they won?
Yeah, because he was they won.
No, not LeGarrette Blunt.
LeGarrette Blunt. Oh my goodness.
Jay
Ajayi. Yeah, there's.
See,
these are names.
Gaming.
Really?
He's a FIFA player now.
Are you kidding me?
He's a FIFA esports player now and makes money doing it.
See, just like these are names that we're just throwing out there, and they won a Super Bowl as a running back. So this is the value that the running back position has in high value at least. But,
Yeah, Corey Clement was awesome at Wisconsin. I remember watching him there.
He set some records.
Every running back was good at Wisconsin with that offensive line.
Brandon Allen right now, man.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about what we got coming up in the NFL.
Yeah, Thursday night, a tasty divisional matchup. Pats, Bills, they do not get to take advantage of the extra break from Thanksgiving. They're back again on Thursday.
Great adjective use with tasty there, Wade. I would agree that game is tasty.
I like this one. You've got the Bills who didn't, blow the Lions out of the water.
I don't think they looked very good.
Versus the Patriots, who I think I was actually really impressed with against the Vikings, to be honest. I think this could be a really interesting one.
So, yeah, you said you don't think they look very good, and I agree. They don't. But they're doing it with a horrific injury. Everybody's injured on that team. Josh Allen is also injured.
Yeah.
I don't know how long that's going to affect him, but I'm just going to trust Tony Worm. I was worried he'll be good in 2 weeks. But I think this was an encouraging win over the Lions. The Lions are not as bad as people think they are.
A hot team, too.
One of the best offenses in the NFL, and the Bills are going to run into a good Patriots team who I think played a fair game against the Vikings. It came down to that last Hunter Henry catch. I think Mac Jones is going to have a good game against this shaky Bills defense, especially the DBs are gone right now. So I mean, they do get Von Miller back though.
They do.
Huge ad.
I think with the Bills, with them against the Lions specifically, is that they won the game. They did what they needed to do, and they won the game. Yeah. I think it was more of a testament to the fact that this Detroit team is a lot farther along than I think we thought they were. I mean, I don't know how big you guys are on the Lions.
I like the Lions.
But I think the Lions are headed in the right direction. I love Dan Campbell as a head coach. I don't know why you wouldn't. And I think the Patriots, again, against the Vikings, the Vikings should have won that game, and they did. Yeah. And Mac Jones needs to just keep riding the ship and keep showing people that he's as good of a quarterback as he is. Because I think early on in the season when Bailey Zappi was playing well, I think a lot of people lost, at least in the New England Patriots fan base, lost faith in Jones and just thought, oh, another kid can do this. Like, what's so special about Mac? And I think there is something special about Mac. I think he just needs to continue to build on his games every week.
Yeah, he was playing very, very, very injured as well.
Yeah.
Like high ankle sprain. He came back in like 2 weeks. Like that's usually like a 6-week injury. Like,
yep.
And he had back problems as well. I know. So like, I mean, he looked so much more comfortable against the Vikings, which is a good sign for this Patriots team. And this is a big game for them in that wild card race. It doesn't matter as much for the Bills. I think
it definitely matters for the Bills. I mean, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago with the which games were we talking about? Where if you can take a loss and not start Josh Allen, that Vikings game, right?
Yeah.
Remember we had that conversation? Yeah. I think every game matters at this point in the AFC, especially the AFC East, because the Jets with Mike White, I don't know.
You never know.
That defense though, looking great.
Oh,
Garrett Wilson explosive as hell, and Elijah Moore just had a touchdown this week. So
finally getting back integrated into the offense.
Yeah, exactly.
I think the thing with Mike White too, and that what makes the Jets so interesting is the fact that Zach Wilson has a certain style of play that limits like explosive like 54-yard touchdowns from Garrett Wilson don't happen with Zach Wilson very often.
Yeah.
Mike White just being a quarterback that can sit in the pocket, throw the ball, let his guys make plays is what the Jets need, because the Jets have so many playmakers. Everybody on that, like, yeah, I mean, and Wilson just, I don't know what's wrong with him.
We're talking about Zonovan Knight last podcast.
Oh, God.
Didn't look too bad. He's their Jets' third string back. He could be an impact going down the line if they want him to play off.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I don't know. Yeah, I was like, who the hell is that? Last spot. That's my bad too.
Zonovan White.
That's the magic number, 69 yards.
Yeah, and not a ton of big NFL news as we reach like the midweek point, but there is one big story, and that's that Aaron Rodgers has decided to play against the Bears. And this is important for two reasons. One, the Bears are now absolutely for sure 100% going to lose this game. And two, Jordan Love doesn't get a shot, and I thought he looked really, really good.
I thought he looked good too, but I don't think he showed too much to me. I mean, that long-ass touchdown to Watson was literally a drag route. Yeah. So there's that. He was making smart decisions, but I don't know. He didn't come back.
The one throw he put on Aaron Jones' back shoulder, like outside the hash to the sideline. That was a very, very nice throw.
He dropped it. Yeah.
He did drop it.
He brought up the numbers.
I will say I will caveat that by saying, obviously, if Aaron Rodgers can go, you play him over Jordan Love.
Okay,
I want to bring up a situation that happened in the Eagles Packers game as well. They got down to within probably the 14-yard line.
Mm-hmm. The touchdown.
They could have scored. Like they honestly, they
You're talking about the fourth down, and they chose to kick the field goal?
Yeah, and they chose to kick the field goal.
We were watching that live, and my initial reaction was for them to go for it because, well, I actually had money on the over, and I needed 4 more points to be scored. Yeah. So field goal wouldn't do it for me. So I was like, I hope they go for it and get the touchdown.
Yeah.
I was like, we'll see what happens. But
I had Packers spreads.
Exactly. But so that call though, Wade said it perfectly. I understand it. I feel like everyone said this. You definitely hear it. They're going to need to get the onside kick anyway, save the time, and leave yourself with more time on the back end. I understand the thinking there, but I think it's just if you're that close to the end zone, You can't.
What the hell?
Yeah, you can't guarantee the fact that you'll get a shot that close to the end zone. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're 14. You should, if you're an NFL team, and here,
The
before I
onside
get
kick
too
is
ahead of
10
myself, they had Jordan Love out there. I want to say the number one thing that I was impressed with Jordan Love was his composure, not just like in the pocket, but just on the field. I felt like he was really in charge of that offense when he came out there. I feel like the leadership and the guys in the huddle, they didn't skip a beat. They knew what they were doing. And the Packers really did put up a fight. Like, I mean, even if Aaron Rodgers was playing quarterback, I'm sure that Christian Watson still would have likely to have been pop off a 70-plus yard touchdown.
Yep.
And then we would have been right back in that same situation. Like, I feel like Jordan Love made the right plays. He made the right reads, and he did it while looking really confident. And I think that that's a good sign because the whole question with him has been, do the Packers trust him?
Yep. I think the thing with Love that's interesting, and I get everybody makes this comparison, but I think more and more as we see his the brief spurts that we actually get to see him on the field, the more and more it's true that it directly compares to what the Packers did 15 years ago when they drafted Aaron Rodgers behind Brett Favre. They left him on the bench for way longer than any other team usually keeps a first-round pick quarterback. And then by the time that he finally comes into his own and is the starting quarterback, he's had so much time learning the offense, developing with the team, that he looks like a tenured professional. And I think that's what we saw with Love.
And he's not just a backup sitting behind
No.
a quarterback one. He's sitting behind a Hall of Famer.
First ballot.
First ballot Hall of Famer, Super Bowl MVP, multiple time MVP of the league. He's watching him during his most tumultuous times as an NFL quarterback, and he's seeing Aaron Rodgers handle this from a seat better than anyone else. He's watching this from a daily basis, and I feel like that's the kind of training and experience you get as a professional that you just can't get anywhere else. And that kind of stuff sets you apart when you come down the road 5-10 years down the road. Whenever you have players in these tight moments, it's that kind of stuff that they fall back on, and that's what leads to excellence. And I think that Wade might be shitting bricks when you're saying that, because if the Packers have another Hall of Fame quarterback coming through another 15 years of this shit, bro.
I was not happy that he looked so good.
I think just a really funny thing that I did notice though is that I don't know how much you guys know about Aaron Rodgers and his relationship with his family. Dude, he came out yesterday when they asked him about his relationship with Jordan Love, and he's like, yeah, like, he's like a little brother to me. I'm like, okay, so Jordan's not? Like, what are we? I just thought that was
brutal.
Jordan, obviously referring to Jordan Rodgers, not Jordan Love, but
his actual brother.
his actual brother.
Going back,
Who's a
though,
great SEC commentator.
Yes, he is. Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem like the most exciting person to like. I feel like if I'm in Aaron Rodgers' family, I'm not looking forward to seeing him at Thanksgiving.
No,
He's not
going to Thanksgiving.
He's just gonna be like, oh man, like what's this guy about to do? Bro?
He shows up doing ayahuasca with Joe Rogan.
I knew someone was gonna say if you talk about Aaron Rodgers long enough, someone brings that up.
Somebody brings up his
Someone brings that
relationship
up.
with Joe
definitely like
Rogan.
the snarky dude, just like gossiping. At the
He's
corner
smart as
table.
hell.
he
Bro. He
is.
went to Cal. He's like he's like
He's an
being
odd
a douche.
dude. He's an odd dude.
He's doing it on purpose. Like
He
he
is.
knows what he's doing.
Yeah. He hates the media, so he just wants to fuck with them.
Yeah.
He gets he's so good at getting a reaction out of people.
That's
he's
true. That is a great
his
comment.
he's like the
always
Rick
smirking.
Sanchez of quarterbacks.
He's always smiling. But it's like a pure chaos thing where it's
Yeah.
like it's just balanced perfectly to where on the exterior you get like this cool composed, but on the inside
He's
it's
just absolute
he's
chaos.
swirling it. Like the smirks. Like I just feel like you catch Aaron Rodgers at bad times and he's like smirking.
I will. Yeah, Wade. I will say though, I'm assuming that you were really hoping that Jordan Love was going to be able to suit up, but
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, because it all depends on whether Justin Fields plays or not for the
yeah,
Bears.
pick.
yeah, and you guys are also playing for a draft pick, but
Yeah, Eddie Jackson and Darnell Mooney both out for the year, by the way.
Yeah, I would like to make a formal.
We're shutting it down.
now that I'm in a podcast environment, though, I would like to make a formal apology to Justin Fields, who I have hated on since he got drafted. Oh, right, he's right. Yeah, no, Justin, I'm sorry. I was not the biggest fan of his coming into the league, and I was not his rookie year, but man, he looks good.
Yeah.
He is.
We
I
have a
mean,
Justin Fields podcast, like
good because he's
We got him
Leading the charge, man.
He's I would say he's the best 2021 quarterback right now. Yeah, I mean, granted, Trevor Lawrence, especially this
I
past
was
week against the
watching-
Ravens.
I remember I was watching that Clemson Ohio State game, the college football playoff
Yep.
semifinal. Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence. And I remember watching that, and I remember during the third quarter of that game, I said, I think that Justin Fields is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. And I think that that statement is true. It was true then, and it's true now.
Yeah.
I think that Justin Fields he's come a long way.
He has, and I don't think that the stereotype about Ohio State quarterbacks has helped him at all.
Yeah.
Because look at all the Ohio State quarterbacks before him, zero NFL success. He goes to an NFL team that has honestly never had a good quarterback.
Yeah.
And it was all the odds are pretty much stacked up against him in terms of the history, and he's proven people wrong.
How many elite quarterbacks do these like top schools produce? Like Oklahoma has had 3 Heisman level quarterbacks come through the NFL, and none of them are. I mean, other than Jalen Hurts, none of the other 2 aren't really having the most successful starts.
I want to look back to Kyler after that.
Yeah, we'll come back to Kyler.
There is just for a fun fact. There is another Oklahoma Heisman quarterback that also wasn't good in Sam Bradford.
There's another.
If you go back in history, I mean,
Sam Bradford.
Yeah.
Hey man, we paid him. The Eagles paid him.
That's a name.
I
That's a name you
forgot
did
about
not think you
him.
would hear today.
He's known for just stealing bags. Like,
Yeah.
Literally.
He's the
forgot that
who's
he
the
was paid him
Mets
too.
player that gets a bag every year.
Bobby Bonilla.
Yeah, he's him, but for the NFL. Like he has so much money for just not doing anything. Sam Bradford. That's just
But yeah, I mean, I'm excited about Justin Fields. I'm not excited for probably losing to the Packers again. If the Bears were going to win one game for the rest of the year, I'd want it to be this one. But I am happy about that draft pick improving. It seems like any guy with a remotely, even relatively serious injury, they're just shutting down for the year. So they're kind of packing it in. But hey, lot to like about this Bears team going forward, I think.
And I think the one thing that I do like about the Bears team right now is they do currently have, like, if the year ended today, the Bears would have the 2 pick, which directly translates to Will Anderson Jr.
Yep.
Which would be a amazing ad for that defense, the edge rusher they get to build around for the next however many years with Fields. I mean, them being in the top 5 gives them a player that will accelerate the rebuild more than we thought.
And I like them. I would like them to address the offensive line through free agency through anything else. I would like some established NFL offensive linemen.
Yep. Completely agree with that.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Paul?
Kind of. I was hoping that we would kind of get back to the Patriots Bills Thursday night game. I wanted to ask who you guys would pick. Who you guys pick to win? I feel like
where is it? Just
it's in New England.
Ooh, see that adds, playing in Gillette adds an element that not a lot of NFL stadiums provide.
Hey man, it's late November now. I get it.
Exactly, like Seattle, New England. There's a Buffalo with weather. There's
Green Bay.
Buffalo is literally the second snowiest city in the country.
Yeah.
It's always cold as fuck.
It was, hey bro, they were like 6 feet. Bro, I'm never gonna say Buffalo's not snowy.
The Soldier Field, because the grass is just so much worse than every other
FedEx
NFL
Field
stadium.
because you're afraid your knees might pop out.
My home is an hour away from Buffalo. When they had that storm, we had like 2 inches. Like that's
Really?
how bad Buffalo is. They're
Wow.
literally located between 2 lakes like that.
Oh,
There
so you
goes
get all
it.
the yeah.
Just snow, bro. Just snow.
Hey,
Thanks for the
if I learned,
meteorology lesson.
if I learned anything from my freshman year landform geography class, it was that it snows more near lakes.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the water, bro. Like
But
It's the water in the
if I had to pick, do we know what the spread is?
We can find out.
Because I feel like that's a little bit more
I don't know how I haven't
entertaining.
looked at that yet.
Because
Yeah.
So the line is currently set Buffalo by 4. The total is set at 43.5.
I love the over on that. I'm not gonna lie.
I also love the over if weather permitting. I look because again it's in Boston. It might snow. It might rain. It might do something crazy. Weather permitting, I do like the over on that. New England. I'll take New England outright. I think
Wow.
Buffalo's as you said, T. Bush. I think they're shaken up.
Yeah.
And I think New England with that close loss to Minnesota, I think they're due. Now, do I think New England is going to then win that game and turn it into multiple wins? No, but I think they get this one at home. I like the New England ground game matchup with the Buffalo front 7 right now. Because although Buffalo's secondary is very limited, obviously due to injury, I think if Matt can play well early on in the game, they stretch the field a little bit. I think New England with Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris, multiple running backs, and a very solid offensive line can take advantage of a lot of, play action opportunities and then breaking the game open with continuous 5 or 6 yard runs.
Yeah,
so I'll take the Pats.
Very underrated running game for sure. And what kind of will be interesting to look for is that the Bills recently, they've been playing really good against the run. I mean, Jamal Williams didn't do too much to them, and then go back to the game before against Nick Chubb. That was probably his worst game of the season against the Bills. Yeah. So it'll be a good matchup.
That'll be a great one. It's finally getting to that time. We kind of previewed it last week on the podcast when we were talking about all the good matchups that we'll have this week. This is just the first one of many when it comes to these close divisional matchups, and I think that these next 2 weeks will go a long way in kind of shaking out the playoff order. I know that 18 of the 32 teams are within one game of a playoff spot, and then there are multiple teams that are within a few weeks of clinching theirs. So we're getting to that point now where it's going to shake up, and we'll have a much clearer idea when we talk about these standings.
One team that I did want to ask you guys about, because I think they're very relevant, and they have back-to-back game, or they have a game and then a bye and then a game against the New York Giants. Obviously, both games is the Washington Commanders.
Yeah, let's talk about them.
What's been going on in Washington?
What's going on in Washington? So they have been on a stretch that not very many teams have been on at all this year since they've beat the Eagles. They've looked great since they're still fourth. This is hilarious. They're still fourth in the NFC, but they have
they're in the playoffs.
Wins. They have 7 wins. Yeah, they have 7 wins. They've since losing to the Vikings by a field goal, they've beaten the Eagles, beaten the Texans, and then they just are now coming off a win against Atlanta. They're 7-5 on the year, like I said, and now they play the Giants, have a bye week, and then they play the Giants again.
That is a huge 2 games for the NFC wild card race.
They can absolutely catapult themselves. We're talking about how they're stuck in 4th place. They can absolutely catapult themselves into 3rd, and then again catapult themselves into 2nd because they play the Cowboys one more time, and they would likely be just 1 game back going into that final weekend.
Okay. I think the main thing that everybody's been talking about with Washington this year is obviously Wentz goes down, Heineke comes in, plays great. But I think the conversation that's to be had is Taylor Heineke the long-term solution at quarterback for – okay. Wade's already said – all right, Wade, you can go off that.
No, the answer to that question is no, and I love Taylor Heineke. But, I mean, you see what guys are considered long-term answers at quarterback, and he is not as good as those guys. Yep. And that's just – I think that's just all there is to it. I love him.
He's efficient.
Seems like a great dude.
Definitely, yeah. I think this is like if you're talking about a classic football team, good defense, run the ball when they need to.
Yep.
I kind of heckled Pal after the Commanders-Eagles game. And that's why I picked the Colts the next game. Kind of similar team, similar style. Their offensive line is playing really well. I love Brian Robinson.
Oh, I love Brian
Pair him
Robinson.
with Gibson.
It's a perfect 1-2 on the ground in the air, and we saw even Robinson catch a pass out of the backfield and absolutely truck an Atlanta Falcons defender.
So
like seeing that guy do that less than 3 months after being shot in the leg.
Yeah.
What? Like he's a true just very special talent at running back they found in the 3rd round. It's unbelievable.
I agree.
I have one of those questions I like to ask. One of those questions where I shit on the Giants.
Here we go.
So
you always got to shit on the Giants.
Yeah. So we talk about the Giants. Talk about Daniel Jones. Say what you will about him. Think what you will about him. We know that he's paired up with an elite running back with Saquon Barkley. The Commanders have a better scoring offense than the Giants.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me.
That doesn't surprise me either. They also have a better defense than the Giants.
You think so?
Imagine Washington's current defense, which I would like to think we can all agree is...
They just got Chase Young back.
You beat me to it.
Commanders are bad. In my opinion.
Chase Young is going to take this team from being good to not great, but in between good and great, in my opinion. Like
We have
they're
to-
not going to contend, but I think they make the playoffs.
We have to talk about this. We have to talk about this Washington and this New York team. We have to compare them a lot just because of the fact that they play each other 2 times in these.
And they're
next few weeks.
very similar.
But the fact that yes, they do. They are similar on the way that they play offensively, the way they're set up. They have quarterbacks that can't really win them the game, but they seem like they're good enough to get the job done. They have running backs that they trust and that they rely on. And then I think the difference is that Washington actually has wide receivers that they can really take
Terry
some shots
McLaurin's
with.
still
down the field.
underrated.
Still under. He'll always be underrated. He's had more quarterbacks to start his career than
What about-
like any young wide
What about
receiver.
Jahan Dotson, bro? I'm a Penn State guy. Dotson is
I
he's
love
a player,
Dotson.
bro. He has good hands and he's quick. He's shifty. It's like I think that what Washington did is that they kind of looked at what Philadelphia was doing and the fact that we've had success with AJ Brown and Devonta Smith. They've done the same thing. Where now they have Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson, and those are 2 guys that I think are going to very quickly develop into wide receiver ones both. And I think that the way that we talk about the Tyreek Hill Jalen Waddle relationship, I think that we could get to a point where if Washington can get a real gunslinging quarterback, they have the potential to do that as well. I mean that. Apart from the quarterback position, the line is elite on both sides of the ball. Offensive line and defensive line for the Commanders is elite. The wide receivers, they're young, they're getting better, they show a lot of promise, and we've talked about how good these running backs are. So really, quarterback is the final kind of question for them.
Yeah.
They should go get Matt Ryan.
Oh God.
Try to give from the Colts bargain bin one last time.
I don't think you can answer that question through free agency. I don't think
No.
that there's a quarterback that's good enough, and we've seen you can go get a veteran like Russell Wilson and it could still turn out horribly.
Yes.
So I think the whole plan to build through the draft and find a guy that can be a real difference maker through the draft. So Commanders, I mean, you look at guys like Bryce Young, they could trade up for.
It's
So many
you were the and this
CJ
is
Stroud's.
I think the one issue with this year, they're not going to find their long-term solution for quarterback this year. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because any team that has a pick that's able to take Bryce Young, probably that's able to take CJ Stroud, is not moving it. And outside of them, I mean, as many PFF people and everybody in the world can say whatever they want about Will Levis.
Dude, he sucks.
No. He's not going to be, I mean, he's going to get drafted early and be another Josh Rosen. And
Sorry, Will Levis. I'm sure you're a good dude.
yeah,
You're terrible.
no,
He
no,
drinks, what is it? Mayonnaise with his coffee?
yeah.
Oh, that was him?
No, like,
Yeah.
no
Shit ton
actual,
of mayonnaise too. Like not just a little bit. It's like way too much.
like no actual offense to
I would
Will
argue
Levis, but just like if he was being evaluated as a 2nd or 3rd round quarterback, I would understand it so much more. But I was reading a PFF mock quarterback ranking that had him higher ranked than CJ Stroud, and I'm just I don't care about your mechanics, I don't care about your arm strength. You are your tape is nowhere near he lost to Vandy. You don't lose to Vandy and get a 1st round pick. You don't. But that's a whole college football thing. We're on the NFL.
Yeah, I mean,
But, oh my God, is he putting mayonnaise in his?
yeah, but it's I would argue that any.
That's
I would argue
a
that
lot of mayo.
Dude,
any mayo in coffee is
Oh
too
my
much
God,
mayo.
no, any mayo in anything but a sub sandwich. What I mean, well, no, because you do put in chicken salad. All right. I don't need to be talking food on a
coffee. Condiments and coffee do not go together. I
I'm
do
a-
not think that was a debate. We'll clear it up on this pod so that no one else gets confused.
I'm
Condiments and
condiments.
condiments. No.
I'm a big mayo guy too, and that's
You tried in your coffee?
I don't drink coffee. I would
Only
though.
coffee
No, I'm
is
not. I wouldn't. I mean, it would probably melt. Okay, whatever. We're not talking about this.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the college football playoff rankings. That's the big story from today.
Okay, this is. Ooh, I'm excited.
And this is second to last college football playoff rankings. And we see now what the committee thinks teams have to do or have to have happen on championship weekend. So let's hop right into that.
And first off, I do want to say of all the things that I care about with sports, college football is by far my most knowledgeable subject. I would like to say. I think you guys can. Yeah. I have. Boush told me that a reaction to the ranking would be interesting. I have not seen the ranking. I do not know who's ahead of who.
All right.
So
I have it right here.
if you want to rip me,
Take my
No,
computer.
let's-
bro. Just
we'll-
go through them yourself. Talk about what you will. I'll kind of I'll kind of talk about where we went. The top four.
The
team
committee
round.
failed us. Okay.
So Dan is currently reacting to what I'm assuming can be the top four.
Oh, this is the AP.
Damn.
The top four is the one that we know. We know that it's going to be Georgia, Michigan, TCU, USC in that order.
Yep. That's 1 through 4.
5. They gave the 5 to Ohio State. 6 to Alabama. 7 is Tennessee. So the first kind of debate that we have right now is the fact that Alabama is ahead of Tennessee. Tennessee won the head-to-head. I mean, Tennessee did lose that game against Carolina, but has Tennessee been punished too much?
No.
Okay,
Can't lose to Carolina by like 100.
Is Hunter Hooker out for the rest of the season?
Yes.
I think this is the interesting conversation you have to have about Tennessee. I grew up a Tennessee fan. I have multiple friends
I did
that are
not know
Tennessee.
that. You grew up a Tennessee fan?
To an extent. I wasn't necessarily an avid fan or anything.
I want to say one
But
thing.
my dad is a diehard Tennessee, or
Okay.
was, and then hated the program for a few years, and now is again an avid fan. I think the issue with Tennessee is that, first off, Tennessee needs to realize as a program that this is your first 10-win season since 2001 or like 1998 or something like that. Yeah. So Tennessee's fan base and their overreaction to the loss, fire the defensive coordinator, do this, do that, like the season's over. Tennessee, you're going to be playing in a New Year's Six bowl game. Congratulations on a great year. You're not better. And they're not better than Alabama because, and Wade, I completely agree with you. It would be one thing if Tennessee lost South Carolina by 7 points on the road to a now number 19 in the country, South Carolina. It's another thing to only force 1 punt, no turnovers, 9 touchdowns to Spencer Rattler.
And we
Against
ran
a guy
out
that was
of
absolutely flailing
ran
this
out
year.
of fireworks.
He had 6.
Yeah.
He had 6 interceptions through the first 6 games. This is a guy that was not inspiring through their offensive play. This was a team that had just gotten absolutely trounced by Florida. Came against a home, lost to Mizzou where they couldn't get anything going on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, this was a South Carolina team that I don't know where they got this from, but they absolutely poured it onto Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I personally do think that Alabama deserves the 6th spot. I think that the way the committee has the top 10 set up, I have no complaints. I think that the one more week of football that we're about to get is going to clear things up. I think personally, Clemson should have fallen a little bit more. I mean, I think the committee kind of respects South Carolina, and that way they respect that loss, rivalry week, only by 1 point. But I still think that both Utah and Kansas State have had better seasons than Clemson has had. And they're in tougher conferences because you have both of those teams are playing in conferences with teams that are likely going to make the college football playoff. And Clemson is in the ACC, which has been ass this year.
Yes, the ACC has been very underwhelming. I think the ACC is objectively the worst conference this year in the Power 5.
100%.
There's an argument to be made that the Big Ten is up there, but the Big Ten is top heavy. The ACC is just not very
That's
good.
funny. You go back 6 weeks and
Oh,
it's not the same conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
saying
that
that is
the
crazy.
ACC fell off hard because we've had Wake Forest drop out of the top 25 polls altogether. We've had NC State go through 3 different quarterbacks. North Carolina has lost 2 straight games in a row. Exactly. They've had injuries. I mean, Syracuse started the season off very strong. They dropped out of the top 25. Like, the ACC has been off the ball.
Very underwhelming.
The Pac-12 has had, I mean, at different points, it has looked like 4 to 5 different teams have had a chance to win that conference.
If you want to, if you want to talk about just before I just to warn you guys, I'm about to start bitching and complaining like crazy when we get into this next discussion. But because you brought up the Pac-12,
right?
I think the Pac-12, and this is going to be a very hot take, especially coming from me, an avid SEC supporter. I have a Saturday Down South sticker on the back of my laptop. I love the SEC. I will root for the SEC in any game, no matter who it is, except for Georgia this year. I think the Pac-12 is the best conference in college football this year. I think it is.
I have loved Pac-12 football this year. I feel like I've done a good job bringing it up. I will not say.
I mean, just look
the
at
SEC has had crazy parity this year. I understand it.
12, 4, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, and that's not even considering the fact that Washington State can win football games. It's not even like, Arizona State with a better head coach could probably win some football games.
Arizona is a program
has
that's
upset some people
last year. Yeah.
Now,
I mean, Colorado might get
Deion Sanders. He's
no,
gonna
no,
get
we're not
no.
gonna go there.
I will say it
We're
right
not
now.
gonna go
That
there.
no. I'll say it right now because I'm a guest. Deion's lock it in. Colorado hires Deion Sanders to be their next head coach.
Hey, man.
He wants the challenge. Because that is without a doubt the worst Power 5 program in the country.
And here's
They're
what I'll
awful.
say. Colorado is also, if they're known for anything, it's the fact that they have produced maybe not elite NFL talent, but if there's a positional group that Colorado kind of takes pride in, it's their defensive back unit.
Yep.
They have a great culture there. I mean, I don't know if whoever's listening to this, if you're familiar with the school or the campus, it's a very prideful school. I mean, they have a rich history, and I think that if Deion if he goes there, man,
it's a great program that needs some energy because there's like a lot of like state flagship universities. Mm-hmm. The more of those we have in college football that are good, the better off the game is because 100%. Those are the schools that have a lot of history and tradition.
Yeah.
But I just got to bring it up right now. Ohio State at 5, Alabama at 6. I have a problem with that. I'm just gonna say.
Just tell us what you would have. 5, 6, 7.
We just watched. So we just watched. Oh, all right. So 100% Tennessee is 7. That's locked in. Mm-hmm. The difference between Ohio State and Alabama is, for me at least, you look at Alabama. They're in the SEC West, a very competitive side of the division. Granted, their out of conference schedule isn't great, but they did beat Texas. Mm-hmm. They do have some quality SEC West wins. They beat Ole Miss. They beat Mississippi State. Mm-hmm. Ohio State, outside of their win against Penn State, which they only won by 10. And yeah, they beat Notre Dame early in the year in Marcus Freeman's first game. But Ohio State just got trounced, embarrassed on their home field against Michigan.
I'll take this one for the podcast just because I did have that whole Alabama thing at the beginning of the year. Yeah, I have to kind of defend them at least for the rest of this year.
I have to bring this up. We had a heated argument on. I don't know.
Heated argument.
It was. Yeah. It was probably your biggest rant of all the rants you've made, but. I don't know if it was the one we didn't record or whatever, the trial.
No, it was out.
No, it was. Hey, that is in a video. That is in a
clips maybe, but you.
I would love to see that.
It was a good argument. Alabama.
It was before the Tennessee game, and we were talking about Alabama.
I said Ohio State could be better than Bama this year, and things are different in college football.
They could be. Well, Alabama as a program. I talked about the institution.
It's so close.
So here's what I'll say.
I'm interested to hear this because I think
I flipped my statement now. I will say Alabama. I still believe in the institution. I still believe in Nick Saban's greatness. Those players are still talented. All those guys are still NFL caliber.
Obviously,
all that says for this year alone, Ohio State should be above Alabama, and the reason is that Alabama does not have an impressive win. If you look through their schedule, and you compare,
it's 20. 20 is the highest.
I mean, it's Ole Miss, right?
No, Texas.
It's Texas now.
Texas,
I think
that's what I'm saying.
They beat Mississippi State, who's a good team, but here's the end of the day.
Ohio State has a win in Penn State, who's top 10, and they beat Notre Dame, who's as good as Texas. So that kind of takes away Texas win.
Here's what I will say is like you have to look at this through the lens of the college football playoff, and that is that. If USC loses, do you put a 2-loss?
That's
USC or TCU?
No, I think the TCU's in unless they get smoked.
Because Kansas State is 10.
A non-conference champion Big 12 team getting into the college football playoff. Just say that out loud and let it marinate.
Yeah, but you already have you put in a non-conference champion 2-loss Alabama who didn't win their division and doesn't have a win like.
I'm with Dan on this one. I think that the way that I look at the committee rankings myself is I put myself in the shoes of the committee. I would ask myself, if TCU doesn't beat Kansas State, we have a 1-loss Big 12 regular season champion, and we have a 1-loss Big 10 team who would have been the Big 10 champion if they beat Michigan. If it wasn't for that 1 loss, and I would personally take Ohio State because then you start comparing.
So you punish TCU for playing 1 extra game?
Yes.
Well, they also did not play.
It's not a punishment. It's not a punishment that you get to play in your fucking bowl, your conference championship. That's
Ohio State could have had that chance. They lost.
Yeah.
TCU didn't lose.
This is just. I think the one thing though is that we just operating on the sense that if TCU beats K-State and if USC beats Utah, the playoff is set. It's boom 1, 2, 3, 4 easy. If one of them loses, I think the question is who do you put in first, Ohio State or Alabama? And this is just going to be my quick rant about why I think Alabama deserves to be ranked higher than Ohio State. Alabama lost a 3-point game on a last-second field goal to Tennessee on the road in the arguably craziest environment we've seen in the last 10 years of college football. So one play. So theoretically, they lost on one play in that game. They fumbled the ball late in the game. Tennessee got the ball back. Whatever. They should have probably won that game. They didn't, but whatever. Then they lost on a 2-point conversion to LSU.
To a freshman tight end.
Well, sure, but again, they lost by 1 to LSU. Alabama has 2 losses by a combined 4 points against 2 ranked teams. And Ohio State, it might just be recency bias. They looked soft against Michigan. They did not play physical. They looked bad. They lost by 20-plus on their home turf. It's the first time that Ohio State has lost to Michigan 2 times in a row in this century.
Since 2000. But
close enough.
Here's what I'm saying. You can't sit here and make...
That's an Instagram Reels line right there. That's
Yeah.
that whole sentence.
You can't sit here and make excuses for Alabama. They lost 2 games. Ohio State only lost 1. Alabama lost to teams that they shouldn't have lost to. And Ohio State lost to a team that is arguably arguably the best team in the country, without a doubt, one of the 2 best teams in the country. And I think that this year, the way that the season has played out, with how chaotic it's been, I think that if TCU or USC, if they lose in their conference championship game, Ohio State is in above either.
Yeah.
I think that the way they lose and the margin that they lose by definitely plays into consideration. If TCU loses off a bogus 2-point conversion in overtime or something like that,
And
I think
it's
that TCU stays at 4, Ohio State will stay at 5, USC would move up. to
margin is important too, because they've already beaten Kansas State this year as well.
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that that's something important about USC. I think USC can move up to the 3 spot if TCU
They get
loses
enough-
last
yes.
year, and they revenge on their only loss of the year.
I think, okay, like, I think at the end of the day, though, working under the assumption that all the teams that are currently in the top 4 win, which they should, what if we went back 5 years ago and somebody told you in 2022 the college football playoff would be Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC?
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's crazy.
College football's been awesome this year.
And this goes into into the number 1 discussion is, if there's any year that I wish there was a larger playoff,
It's this one.
it'd be this year, because the thing that I love about it is you can look at the top 4 teams in the country right now and say, yeah, those 4 teams earned their right to be in the top 4. But I can't wait to see an 8 or a 12-team playoff where the team that wins the national title thoroughly earned their national title. You beat the teams laid out in front of you in the playoff, and you earned it. And I'm so excited for that. I did want to say, though, I did put together a little list of my bowl game predictions. Wanted to throw out the big 6 games that I have and see who you guys would be taking in said games.
Okay. Before we get into that,
Yes.
let's pick championship weekend. We'll do all the Power 5 schools and then the AAC.
Love this. Thank you for including the A.
Well,
thank you,
that's
Wade.
just what I've got on my screen in front of me. CBS.
It is a relevant conference. I will fight for that conference.
You know what?
Let's
start there.
You know what? Let's start there. UCF versus Tulane. Saturday at 4. Tulane has burned me in the past.
They're gonna burn you again.
Don't care. I'm picking Tulane. I'm going with
There
the
you
green
go.
wave. That angry wave's captured my heart. It's been magic down there in New Orleans. They've had an incredible season. I like them to get the group of 5 spot in the New Year's Six Bowl this year and taking down
Completely
UCF.
agree. They are on my bowl game list that we'll be getting to in a second. I love what they've done this year, but I do want to give, because I am going to obviously pick Tulane. I do want to give credit though. Auburn fired Gus Malzahn. And look how bad that program is. And Gus Malzahn has UCF in the top 25. So just wanted to point that out there that Auburn is.
UCF beat Tulane earlier this month as
They
well.
did.
In Tulane. That game should have been the college football game, the
Yeah.
game day game. It wasn't. I used to live in New Orleans. I love the University of Tulane. I hope that they win. That football
Riding the
program.
green wave.
That football program has been
been-
top 25 consistent for the past 4 to 5
Yeah.
years. They're building something special. I know that the coach is rumored to be working
Probably
on
taking
his
a job
exit.
at another. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he's built a program that has potential to last. They're blessed with a great recruiting area.
And they did win and they did win an SEC championship in like the 1940s.
Yep, they did.
So that's
and
something
I
to
think
forget
that they have the coolest. Wade has said this is why Wade likes them so much. They have the coolest logo /
color scheme.
I have a.
It's so great.
I had a bunch
It's
of
because of
stickers
the
on my
Earth.
computer before, and I had a Tulane sticker.
It's like a
because I
globe.
thought
It's
that was on
sick.
there.
It is. It's like, yeah.
They have the coolest uniform colors as well. They have gray, they have blue, they have
Yep.
green, they have black, they have white, they
Yeah.
have like baby, they have powder blues. They have it all.
I think
Yeah, this'll-
They have dark green and a light
This will
green.
be a great looking game. UCF has some great strips as well.
I was just about to say, out of all the teams they could possibly be playing in this
uniform
game,
matchup.
it's going to be a great uniform matchup.
Yeah.
All right, what?
Yeah,
who do you got in this?
I got UCF, I think.
Oh, you're not riding the green waves.
No, I wish. I mean...
Hey, bro, we don't want to jinx Tulane. You know what I mean? Everybody get on the line.
Usually I just pick the cooler jerseys, but I mean... in this
He
case-
both reveals his breathtaking strategy.
For
It's like my
college
my
football.
little sister picking a March Madness bracket.
Yeah, just seriously. Hey, that one year the Buffalo
Hey.
made to the Elite Eight or the Final
Yep.
Four, whatever it was. I know someone that picked them to do that because they think that Buffaloes are cool. So that's like a. That's
I'm
like
not
a
gonna
real
lie.
story have.
I will objectively say that I do think buffaloes are cool. So
Yeah,
I think
100%.
that's not
I don't
a
think anyone
very
Don't
cool
disrespect me
animal.
Like that, bro. Like,
we got a guy from Buffalo right here. Bro.
no, they're good.
the
I
Bulls.
Like every 2 or 3 years, they got screwed. Like a couple years because their head coach had some scandal.
And Khalil Mack's alma mater.
man.
Yeah, him
Mack's
and
alma mater, yeah.
Jarrett Patterson. Was that the running back?
Yeah, he had like a 400
All
game.
right, wait. Oh,
Let's
what
get
else?
to
do
the,
we
let's
have?
get to the next game.
Yeah, let's I'll do these in order of how interested I am in them.
let's get to
Do a little selfishly. Next, Clemson, North Carolina.
Blowout.
I personally like that call as well. Dabo's going to have those guys fired up. They just lost their biggest rival for the first time in 8 years.
Who starts?
Not DJ.
He sticks with DJ.
He has to stick with DJ
He
because
rides
and
his
this is
dick, bro. Like,
he does.
He rides it.
I think the thing that you have to talk about with Dabo Swinney that while I will say obviously as a Gamecock fan I don't like Dabo Swinney, but I think there was one moment in the South Carolina Clemson game in the fourth quarter when I don't know what his name was, but number 26 fumbled the ball on a punt return, kind
they
of
tried to
threw
do
it
a little
forward.
cross stuff.
Yeah, he kind of threw it forward. It didn't look good. Pretty much lost them the game, turnover possession. Dabo could have screamed at that kid. He could have done whatever he wanted. He sat him down on the sideline and like literally talked to him for like 3 minutes. And it's a testament to the culture that Clemson's built there. That while I don't like them, I don't like their university, I don't like anything about them. He's built a culture there that is a winning culture, and I fully expect him to come out this weekend against North Carolina with DJ. I'm going to say it right, Uwe Ugalele behind under center, and I think they thoroughly handle North Carolina.
When it comes to the future of that program, I think they're fine. It's just like they need to find a quarterback.
They do.
Their defense was solid.
And
this year.
Cade Klubbock's going to
Shipley's
start
a
next year.
beast.
Cade
Sitting on the-
Cade
that's what I was
Klubbock will
gonna
start
say.
next year.
They don't need to find a quarterback. He's sitting there on the sideline. They just need to get him out there. But
He's going
I
to
will
stick with his
say-
guy.
I will say this is probably as much of a Clemson hate podcast as you can find. This is for Carolina Gamecock guys talking about this, but the fact that you were able to shout out Dabo there, I think that's a point that we really do have to bring up because he has catapulted himself to a level as a coach and put himself into the conversation right there beside Nick Saban, unlike anyone else. And I think
Did you really just say beside?
Come on.
I think he's as
12,
close.
12?
I'm saying he's
a
as
10.
close.
He's a step stool under, but he's not beside.
Just say
Here's
he's
what I'm saying.
not-
Here's the point, though. Here's the point. No
Yeah.
one is close to Nick Saban because Nick Saban's a
Okay,
good
there.
guy.
All right.
I'm just saying that
Anything
if
you
you're
say
gonna-
now is justified.
if you're gonna divide the tiers of college football.
Oh,
coaches,
he's number 2.
I think that
He's
Nick
number
Saban was by himself in the class,
And now it's-
And I
okay.
think that Dabo
Yes.
is the only coach. You've had Jimbo Fisher try and break into that role. He
And
has
no
not
chance
gotten
now.
there. He has not gotten there. You've had other names like Kirby Smart. I think that if Kirby Smart wins
more
this
years.
as well, if he wins this as well, and then he keeps it going, I think Lincoln Riley has not gotten anywhere near
No.
there. James Franklin at Penn
Do you
State
think-
has
do you
not
think-
gotten
He
anywhere near
can.
there.
What do you think
can.
Lincoln Riley can? What do you guys think of Harbaugh? Couple straight college football
I mean,
playoff appearances.
see,
Couple
Are we,
straight.
gonna, are we gonna forget how inconsistent Michigan was for like 7
Yeah,
fucking
see,
years? If like 2 years.
Hey,
of
I
this,
mean,
and then
hey,
think-
needed to get his
I
guys
think
in.
if we're gonna like,
Ryan Day has not gotten there. I think you understand my point
yeah,
now.
well,
Dabo has gotten
yes, no.
himself to a level that no one
I
else has.
completely understand that with Dabo, and I think the thing with Dabo, now that you brought up Harbaugh, is I don't dislike Dabo because I dislike Dabo. I dislike him because he's the Clemson head football coach. I don't dislike Jim
He's a
Harbaugh.
troll as well.
Well,
He's
yeah,
on social media
but
stuff.
I was gonna say I don't really like Dabo because I don't
I
really
don't-
like Dabo.
Dabo talks a lot, bro.
I don't
He
don't
talks a
hate
lot.
Harbaugh because he's the Michigan head coach. I hate him because he's a prick. I cannot stand Jim Harbaugh.
I'm not a big Harbaugh guy.
No,
either.
he's such a piece of shit.
He wore like cleats in the family school
Yeah.
for like the whole visit. Shit like that.
Like, I'm not trying to
I
get
can
political,
understand.
but like him shirtless reminds me of Vladimir Putin on top of the horse.
Oh, yeah.
Like his
The bear,
body,
it's a bear.
it's a bear, it's a horse,
It's
it's
like
whatever the
Photoshop
hell it
bear.
is. It's Russia.
It's
Nobody cares.
crazy. Yeah, I think that's a conversation worth having because he's gotten this kind of leeway and protection. Michigan has given him a security blanket, or they've just given him job security that not a lot of coaches have been afforded in the past.
Yeah.
Especially at these elite level programs, and now he's really starting to build something special. But I think with Michigan, I know that I said earlier, like just minutes ago, that they're the second best team in the country,
Yeah.
arguably first based on resume. I still think that they're. If I were to make like my own power rankings, if this is the playoff going into the actual playoff, I think that USC is the second best team.
Really?
Out of this four, I think the fact that Michigan, the way that they play and win, it might work in the Big Ten. Whenever you're playing
it's
against
not
heavy
transferable.
hitters, whenever you get into these slug matches, and I understand that they beat Ohio State, but now we're questioning how good Ohio State.
We are.
And so I think that the level that Georgia plays at, the intensity that they play at, the level that the scheme, how well these guys work within that system, and I think the way that they've dominated, I think that it can only be matched by USC.
I agree with you. I think Caleb Williams is just that guy. Like I
You
know,
need
And
that
so is
kind of
Jordan
stuff.
Addison.
when it comes to point total,
I was gonna say, bro,
that
that's
Notre Dame game
He's-
against USC is
he's
kind
just
of
as
close
big.
in points, but like if you really watch the game, USC dominated.
Caleb Williams
And
looks
he can
like he's
throw
in
the ball
control.
anywhere he
Big
wants.
Notre Dame is a hot
Yeah.
team. They absolutely throttled Clemson, and then we see them absolutely struggle against USC.
Yeah,
So,
I got to shout out Jordan Addison, particularly because he is from my home county back home.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Frederick County, Maryland, went to a rival high school. Gonna be one of two probably first round picks from originally from my county. The other one I don't like, being Brian Brzee. But I would kind of tend to agree with that, but I'm really just waiting to see. For the sake of like a little bit of structure though, Wade, what are the other games? Let's just like run through these games. Real quick.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking USC. We'll do that one next. We got Utah, USC. That's on Friday. Kansas State versus TCU is on Saturday
I
at
think that
noon.
both of those, we expect those two to win, right?
LSU, Georgia, Saturday at 4. And
of-
Purdue, Michigan, Saturday night. We already talked about the other
think
two.
we all agree that Georgia and Michigan win their do we even need to talk about that?
The thing is the last like 2 times Purdue's played the second-ranked team in the country whilst they've been unranked, they've won. I don't see it happening this year.
I don't either.
Because teams show up for the Big Ten championship. They
Championship.
don't show up when they waltz into
When it's
Purdue.
when it's October and they're
Yeah.
playing,
I
when
think-
they're playing in West.
I think the question that all poses of TCU and USC, which one is more likely to lose?
TCU.
I think it's TCU. Yeah.
But Utah is a very good team.
I think
Utah.
it's because Utah is a better team.
I think Utah matches up better against USC. I think Utah's a better team than K-State, but I think that the way TCU has won football games, 1 point against Baylor, like 10, like they all
TCU's
of their
coming off
games.
their
Scramble
TCU's coming
drill.
off their
They-
best performance yet of
Yes,
the entire
against
season. They
a-
had defensive
well,
touchdowns.
against a bad Iowa State team.
I
though.
understand that, but I think that the way that you come into the game with confidence and with swagger, I think that kind of stuff matters. I think that USC is going to come off a little bit more beat, a little bit more sluggish. Although I will say I think both of them will win comfortably. But if I have to pick one, I'll say USC is just a little bit more likely to lose.
Here's what I'll say. I'll say that Michigan, I believe, is going to be once they take care of business, they're really going to be hoping that TCU wins that game. I think they
Yes.
would love
Thoroughly,
that
yes.
matchup rather than
And so
playing
is
USC.
Georgia, and so is Georgia, because I think a matchup with USC is a lot better of a matchup than Ohio State or Alabama.
Absolutely.
USC versus Georgia could be a lot like Tennessee, Alabama, in my opinion.
All right. All right. So if things go as they should, which means the top 4 teams win their conference titles and everything works as it should. I'm pretty sure I know the Big 6 bowl games, how they're going to look, based on tie-in structure and all that. And then if you guys want to...
I have a question
Yes.
before we start this. The Rose Bowl.
Yes.
What's happening? What's the news?
So, in regards to who's going to be in it, or...
In regards to the fact that they've struggled on figuring out if it's going to be a college football playoff host.
We want Purdue.
Yeah, so it's not
want
this
Purdue.
year. So the 2 bowl games that are hosting this year is the Peach Bowl and the Fiesta Bowl that is locked in. I believe the Rose Bowl's hosting next year, but I'm not positive.
They've had some kind of contract trouble.
Yes, they have had contract troubles, and that stadium definitely needs a new field. It's definitely getting older. UCLA is not particularly taking care of it very well. But we'll see how that works in the future. Losing the Rose Bowl would be an atrocity. Like it would be horrible. So I hope that doesn't happen.
It really would.
Like I'll say, as a huge college football fan, like if I could go to any, like if there's one stadium I hope I go to before I die, like I would love it to be a Rose Bowl.
Hey,
Yeah,
we
my
were
mom-
Talking, we were talking World Cup before. The Rose Bowl Stadium held the record for the most attended World Cup match ever. It was the '94 USA Olympics.
My mom.
That would have been such a crazy game.
My mom went to Wisconsin, and she went to it was either the late '90s Wisconsin team. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was the
They had
team
a
with
really
Ron. It was
good
the team.
running
It was the
back.
team with Ron Dane.
Yes.
And she went to the Rose Bowl that year, and she speaks about it as highly as she speaks about the day she got married or that her children were born. It's a crazy experience, and if the Rose Bowl goes away, then that's a damn shame.
Well, let's start with what the Rose Bowl probably will be, which is funny. It's going to be the first time in a very long time the Rose Bowl will not have either Pac-12 Big Ten champion, and it will not have any team in the Pac-12 Big 12 championship game. Assuming that
because it'll have Ohio State. They didn't play.
it will 100% have Ohio State in it.
Will not be Utah. So
Well,
they'll
with
put
with
it-
Utah losing, they would likely fall behind Washington
Washington's
in
been
the
surging.
college football playoff poll, which would grant them entry into the Rose Bowl. So
So
as
there are
of
3 teams tied for 12-0 right now in the country. So they have the longest win streaks. But
Yes.
the second longest win streak in
Is
the country
Washington.
is held by Washington. Yeah,
So-
they won 8 straight.
Ohio State versus Washington, Ohio State versus Washington in the Rose Bowl if everything goes to play. Michael Penix or Penix, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, playing against Ohio State again.
Yeah.
Very interesting matchup. Ohio State would definitely have some opt-outs. I don't think Washington would. What do you guys think about that potential matchup?
I think Washington would definitely be able to keep it close. We've seen Ohio State kind of struggle in bowl games where it's not they don't treat it the same.
Not the college football playoff.
Yeah. I think the attention level isn't there. Like you said about the opt-outs, I think that's a big part. And I think that even if Ryan Day doesn't want to, I think you're gonna lose the locker room. You know what I mean? Like their season ended this past weekend, so I think that with that, I think that Washington has a better chance than they would, if all that hasn't happened. So I think Washington would cover. I'm not sure if they'd win though. There's a lot of talent on the Ohio State team. A lot of guys waiting to get their chance. I mean, wasn't the bowl game when Njigma Smith had his breakout party?
Yes,
He
yes.
had a wild game every.
And now he
time.
can't walk straight without injuring himself. But
Yep. Poor guy. But that's what I'm saying. So that kind of game, you have guys step up even if you have opt-outs. So
yeah, I would take Ohio State, but I definitely think it would be a lot closer than
it'll be a great game. It'll be a great game.
Washington would cover.
Yeah.
For sure.
Let's talk about the other matchups.
All right, so the biggest winner of last week that was a big winner because somebody else lost
Okay.
was surprisingly Tennessee.
Yeah, because LSU lost.
Because LSU loses, which means that the SEC does not send 4 teams to the Big Six. They send 3, which elevates Tennessee up from what was most likely a Cotton Bowl matchup with the winner of the AAC to now an Orange Bowl matchup with our rival Clemson.
Yeah, that's a great game.
Tennessee, Clemson, Orange versus Orange.
What the fuck just happened, Bull?
Yeah. I am rooting. I mean, it's the who just got beat by Carolina Bowl.
Yeah.
Jalen
Horrible
Brooks
uniform matchup too. All that orange formation. My eyes out.
A lot
I
of.
want to shout out Jalen Brooks because he commented on one of my posts that I made
Really?
about South Carolina.
I love that.
Yeah.
He's listening, bro. We're like an hour 15. Even if Jalen Brooks is fucking video,
He's not getting that far. He's not getting that far. I
I
think-
think right now we get him as a guest on the podcast.
Jalen Brooks.
Yeah.
I can
He's
try.
listening to this, Jalen.
I can try for Zach Pitt I can try for Zach Pickens like Xavier Leggett. I love both those
Bro,
guys.
that'd be insane. That'd be really cool.
I gotta say though, I do like Tennessee in that game. I think they're high-powered offense. I don't think Clemson can keep up with them.
No Hendon Hooker though. You still think Tennessee?
I like Milton. I'm a big
He's
Milton
good.
guy.
I take
He's very
Clemson.
good.
They end on a high note. Those seniors, they just had some crazy records broken. They know how to win. They'll go out and win.
I like Tennessee because I hate Clemson.
I hate Clemson
more than I hate Tennessee.
Two lesser interesting matchups. Alabama gets Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl. Can we all just agree Bama would roll them over?
I would really, as a guy who watched Adrian Martinez not be able to beat Iowa for 2 years, I would like, if he beat Alabama, I would love that so much. Even if he doesn't play, if a team with Adrian Martinez on it beat Alabama, that would make my year.
That'd be funny. And then the Cotton Bowl, Penn State versus Tulane is what that would be right now.
That would be
a fun one.
because
That would be a very fun game.
Penn State has a tendency sometimes.
They play down to their.
That is
Yes.
that's exactly what I was going to say.
And Sean Clifford, I hope Sean Clifford finds this podcast, watches the first hour and 15 minutes of it, and then hears this. Sean Clifford is awful. Penn State is not good. No. Penn State is a great football team. Let me just say that right now. Penn State is arguably the best two-loss team in the country, or at least has one of the best resumes. They're a great football team. Sean Clifford is not a good quarterback.
Hey man, my dad's a big Penn State guy.
If they still had wildly overrated 6-6 quarterback Will Levis instead of Sean Clifford, they're a college football playoff perennial team.
I don't know.
But they don't.
Penn State,
They don't.
Penn State has a lot of trouble. They have a lot of trouble when it comes to in-game management. I think that's one thing that James Franklin has had to improve for years now. There have been. I can think of the fact that the way the Big Ten season.
Amazing head coach, though. Want to say that. Want to make
Amazing
that
head coach,
clear.
great recruiter, great person to just have as a mentor, as a leader.
You had to build that program back up after, without a doubt, the largest scandal in the history of college football, and he did it with ease.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy what he's been able to do there at Penn
I
State.
think the fact that they have to kind of break through that glass ceiling with the fact that it has been a two-horse race in the Big Ten for a while now, and Penn State is the closest that we'll get to the three-horse race, and I think that they've kind of gotten to that scene, but they haven't.
Wisconsin just hired Luke Fickell.
They did? Oh.
And they
Great hire.
were a team that you could bet on to make a Rose Bowl pretty safely. I mean, back in the early 2010s.
A few years ago. And one team, though, that did not make a very good hire, particularly at the offensive coordinator position, would be the Nebraska Cornhuskers. But, that's a
Topic for another day.
topic for another day. All right, so if the top four happen right now, though, who's winning the Natty?
I got Georgia over USC.
Georgia over USC?
I want to say Georgia over Michigan.
Okay. Weird.
Wait, are you guys assuming that Georgia and USC would play each other?
Yes. 1 versus 4.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, no.
You said Georgia
Who
over
would you
USC.
win
Oh,
the Natty.
Oh, the Natty. Okay.
So unless USC somehow leapfrogs TCU.
Which
Which
is
they-
most likely not going to happen.
They could, though. I think
they could
if
they trounced Utah and
TCU
like,
loses a close one, I think they get
But
flipped.
just if it was the way it was right now, you said Georgia, Michigan.
In that case, Georgia over Michigan.
Georgia or Michigan.
I think Georgia's that good.
Yeah, I really do want to pick Michigan. I just don't see J.J. McCarthy getting the same sort of joy he had against Ohio State against Georgia's secondary. Give me Georgia over Michigan if it season ended today.
Let me just be the one person to just completely disagree and say
TCU.
I like Michigan
Okay. Oh,
over Georgia. And I think the reason that I like Michigan over Georgia is the fact that Georgia has struggled this year against teams that can run the ball. Georgia has, they barely beat Missouri. They scored 16 points against Kentucky and in a 16-6 win. And they beat up teams who can't run the ball, like South Carolina, Tennessee. Blake Corum, that's the reaction that
So good.
should be said with Blake Corum.
will he be healthy though?
Will he be fully healthy?
Yeah.
I think with the month of time in between games, I like Blake Corum to be healthy. And also I just never in my life will pick a repeat national champion. So I just mentally cannot pick Georgia.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I like that. I'm the same way. I think that's like that's why I didn't want to say Georgia.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
like the fact that
it's
we're
just a
picking
cop
anything.
out. Like Georgia. Like it's
Yeah,
I don't know.
boring. I would like to see, honestly, more than anyone else in the Natty. I would like to see USC in the Natty.
I would too.
Lincoln Riley. I hate Southern Cal, but I like the Pac-12. I want them to get that respect. I want them to make it to the final, but I don't know if
College football is better when USC is good. It's better when Notre Dame is good. It's better when Miami is good.
It's also better when Michigan is better than Ohio State. Personally, I hate Ohio State.
I think teams. I think
it's better when both are good.
people hate those teams pretty equally. I think.
Same with Texas.
Yeah.
Texas
is good as well.
There's a short list of teams. Oh, horns down.
I like college football.
Texas, Miami, Nebraska, Florida State, Michigan, the teams that were really good in the 90s when college football was kind of at its peak that are not very good now. But
Spurs,
the USC bowl
Spurs
game,
down.
we're probably going to the Gator Bowl to play Notre Dame in what I think is a matchup of the two best 4-loss teams in the country. I think that's
it's a match with the two because Texas sucks.
Yeah,
So.
I will never say a nice word about Texas. I might I don't know what my future holds if I ever live in Austin one day. Don't care. I hate the University of Texas. So
a lot of people share that sentiment.
horns down.
Campus is average. Been there. It's average.
Austin is just Portland in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a hot Portland.
Yeah, it's a hot Portland with brisket.
Damian Lillard's ideal summer. But anyway, I think that's about all the time that we have.
Running a little long now. If you've made it this far, thanks for listening. This has been a ton of fun. I definitely think one of our more entertaining episodes.
Yeah, for sure.
But thank you, Dan.
We'll see how it takes live up to the test.
Seriously.
Sean Clifford, you're still awful.
Thank you, Dan, once again for coming on.
Of course, guys. Thanks for having me. This is a great time.
If you've got anything you want to plug, this is the time.
Anything that I get to plug here?
Is SoundCloud, your SoundCloud, your...
Well, I'm not a rapper. I really appreciate you guys having me on. This was a lot of fun. I was looking forward to it. I was telling T-Bush at our basketball game. I was just really excited for this. So thanks guys for having me.
Yeah,
I don't really have anything to plug besides fuck Clemson.
I like it.
Beamer ball, right?
Beamer ball.
We gotta plug Beamer ball.
Dude, I'm excited to see who the new OC is.
Yeah.
It's
an exciting time to be in Columbia.
Have fun with the OC talk, whatever you guys talk about.
I was going to say, I just really hope Rattler stays. That's my last.
That's right, bro. We gotta get Rattler to stay.
Yeah, bro, hold on. Where do you think he's going? He says?
He stays or goes. Yeah, let's get one last Dan Bush.
Oh,
He
God.
knows more than we do, so let's see what he says.
Rattler, the three options are stay, draft, or go to Nebraska, fall Satterfield. I think it's the most with what I've heard. Going to Nebraska is probably not happening because that just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't.
At
Draft
best,
makes
it's a lateral
sense.
move.
At best, it's a lateral move. At worst, it's really bad.
It's a step
I think he goes pro. And as a Gamecock fan, getting to see Braden Davis, and I believe his name is Tanner Bailey. I believe he went to Gordo in Alabama. Getting to see them potentially get time next year. We have a tough schedule next year. It's going to be very hard to win a lot of games. We have a lot of hard opponents on the road. We get North Carolina week 1 with Drake May. Expectations should not be set higher than they were this year. Mm-hmm. But it's a build year. This is the worst we're going to be for the next 3 years. So I think that's the attitude. But I think Rattler goes pro.
That makes sense. If you see this as a kind of the end of the era, end of the first chapter in Beamer's stay in Columbia,
Great first chapter.
Then I think that it's a nice place to kind of bookmark it and end it with Rattler leaving, going pro, getting the 1 year that he needed to kind of hone his skills and show the people at the next level what he has.
And get an actual offensive coordinator now.
That's right. And now we can kind of turn the page
and move forward into a new era.
See who Beamer brings in himself. Regardless, what a time to be a Gamecock.
Yeah.
Great way to end the football season. A way to end the football season better than what we could have expected.
Yeah.
Could have.
2 years ago we saw the lowest of lows of Gamecock football, and now we're at the highest of highs.
Well, not the highest of highs, but
It
we're
can get higher.
feeling good.
It can get higher, bro.
In the last decade, yeah, but I don't want to put a cap on Beamer. But guys, thank you so much for having me, though.
Great pod, though.
I appreciate it.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll have another one. Closer to the weekend.
And shout out Fight Milk.
Yeah, shout out Fiber.
There's the plug.
Follow the Twitter if you haven't. FF Breakdown Pod on Twitter. We'll be releasing episodes and kind of updating live reactions to the things that happen.
Yeah, we will see you all on Friday.
Awesome.